Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Wisdom Work with Christa and Christy. We are your co-host. I'm Christy McCaffrey, and I have here with me Christa Mantey. How are you, Chris?
Hi, Christy. Great to be here.
So good to be here. And today we are here to talk about the topic of body image. We're here to talk about really how our own body image impacts our mental health, our emotional health, and also our physical health. So, Chris, can you tell us a little bit more about exactly what it is that we're talking about here today and also what your take is on body image?
Whew, well, this is a big one. So, we want to offer a little trigger warning for any of you that do suffer with any kind of disordered eating or eating disorders. This can be a really tricky thing to listen to or talk about. So, just be mindful of that. Take care of yourself. If you need to pause or just stop listening, please do that. So, for those of you that are on this ride with us, the what I wanted to do today was talk about body image because with summer coming, I'm seeing a lot of buzz around diets, cleanses, detoxes, different protocols around quick weight loss. And as a registered dietitian, certified holistic health coach, I've worked with people over the last almost 20 years around specifically weight loss and more recently body image and intuitive eating. So what I've seen is that a person's perspective of their own physical appearance can really impact their health, not only physically, but mentally and emotionally too, like Christy said. So, what today we wanted to do is just kind of bridge this conversation because I know a lot of us, I would argue most people, since we've grown up in this diet culture, no one has escaped it, right? So, male or female, I think anybody here in this culture has been exposed to a lot of misinformation and a lot of pressure around looking a certain way or fitting into a certain look that would be deemed beautiful or a popular opinion of something that's beautiful. And what we're here to say, like always, is that's not true. It's a countercultural thought to believe in your own beauty, believe in your own radiance and your own vibrance, and to shift the focus from looks to health. So that's one of the fundamental things I do with clients is that we talk a lot less about how we look and a lot more about how we feel, how our energy is, how we're sleeping, the self-talk around food. And what I've found so much in my work is that when we are talking about food in our mind, a lot of times the shoulds come in. So we talk a lot about shoulds on wisdom work. And when you're in alignment, the mind, body, and spirit are connected and they are one. So when you're intuitively asking yourself, what do I feel like? Am I actually hungry? Or is there an unmet emotional need? So sometimes people will go to food or booze or scrolling or Netflix or binge watching things because they're not wanting to feel bored or they're not wanting to feel anxious or they're not wanting to feel angry. So they're trying to numb. And that's fine. That's a mode of numbing. But let's call it what it is and just be conscious like, hey, I got to numb out right now and not sit with these feelings for a minute. But what I always say around food is ask yourself if you're truly hungry and what are you hungry for? It could be a hug. It could be a walk in nature. It could be a warm bath. It could be a cup of tea. It could be a glass of water. It could just be space. I just need to breathe for a minute. I need to shut these screens and I need to just like be. So when you get really connected with what you're truly feeling emotionally, and then meeting the need of what that is underlying, then we develop self-trust. So just like a baby, right? So when a baby is crying, the safe guardian goes to the baby and tries to meet whatever that baby's need is. So if they're crying, we hold them, or we try and feed them, or we change their diaper, or we try and burp them, whatever it may be. If we are needing something and we're going to a source to feed that need that is not meeting the root cause, it's not even scratching the itch. So we're still going to feel angry. Food, a smoothie isn't going to help me feel less angry. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So we need to shift um, we need to shift the way we look at food, and this ties into the body image because a lot of times with dieting, we just want to look a certain way. We don't care what we're putting in our bodies. We just want that result. And what I always try and do is shift that and talk about the journey, talk about the way we look at food, talk about the nutrients in the foods that actually feed our cells, our tissues, our organs, keep our bodies running in the most vibrant way. So, what we put into our bodies matters immensely around keeping our cellular health and our metabolic health running it optimally. And also, when we are feeding ourselves healthy and nutrient dense foods that feel good in our bodies, that give us more energy, that helps our mental health too. Right. So there's so much research happening now with the microbiome and gut health because the neurotransmitters are made in our guts. So that's why when people say, what's your gut reaction? It's what you think first. So if your gut is unhealthy, our neurotransmitters aren't functioning as optimally as they can. So that's going to impact our mental health. So also the emotional health around how we perceive ourselves. So I'm going to stop there because that was a lot. So Chris, can you digest that for us a little bit?
That was great. And I knew you would give us all the juicy research details. That's what I
Yes.
love, hearing your scientific um, take on everything, because you've taught me a lot, honestly, over the years about just the importance of exactly what you just said, like what goes into our body and how that. I think a lot of times people don't think about that direct correlation between your inner environment and then also your emotional
Mm-hmm.
reaction to things has a lot to do with that. I think that over the years, thankfully, this information has become more widespread and people have been a lot more open to the idea of holistic a view of ourselves, that we have to see that all of these things tie in together. And as you were talking about, you know, body image, I really liked that you said that it's really about trusting ourselves, because what that made me think of is this ongoing conversation we've been having about self-love and acceptance, not seeking approval outside of yourself. So I would say that for me, that's been my journey with body image, has been having to recognize the bad habits I had around body image and how they were directly related to my desire for approval, my desire for acceptance. I think culturally, we are all struggling with that. That,
Mm-hmm.
I wanted my body to look a certain way because, like you said, like that would be what was beautiful. That was what was accepted. So then that would then dictate what I was eating, which wouldn't necessarily be nutritionally good or
Mm-hmm.
cellularly good for my body, but it would keep my body looking the way that I wanted it to, so that I felt like, well, it's so crazy because it's almost like you're willing, when you look at it that way, you're willing to say, I don't care if my body's functioning correctly. I care that it looks the way the rest of the world wants it to look so that I can be
Yes.
approved of. Um, but I think it sounds crazy, but it's not, because in the moment you aren't thinking through all of those things. This is just a reaction to a culture that
Mm-hmm.
you're having.
Yeah.
It's what we see in the media. It's what we see in all fashion ads. And, yes, it's starting to shift and it's starting to change. And people are becoming more aware and awake to the idea that, like, this has been super detrimental to the mental health of everyone in this country, is that we are so focused on keeping a certain body type, or that only certain body types are good, only certain body types are desirable. Um, and it's so negative and it's so toxic. But I would say, for me, it was unique in the sense that I became very hyper aware of my inner health when my mom passed away. I was
Mm-hmm.
24 years old. So, like, that became very like, it was like a major shift in my life. I became very aware of the fact that I need to take care of my internal environment, more so than what I care about how I look like or how I'm perceived, because this
Mhm.
is actually life or death. That, if I don't take care of myself, my predisposition to autoimmune components that are in my genetics could be triggered because I'm not taking care of myself, as you said, on that cellular level. So that really completely shifted things for me. And I started to prioritize, eating whole foods and taking care of my gut and all the things that you mentioned. But I would say the process took longer and is still an ongoing process when it comes to the body image piece,
Mhm.
because you're still just so hardwired to think, you know, as you're going into the swimsuit season, what do I need to do to make sure I don't have cellulite on my thighs? You know,
Mhm. Mm.
what do I have to do to make sure that my arms look the way I want them to look when I'm on the beach or I'm at the pool?
Mhm.
Like, it's that like hurts my heart when I think about it, that those thoughts become priority for me.
Yeah.
But it's also really natural that so many of us are struggling with. And I
Mhm.
think it's really important that we have this conversation, because we don't talk about it. We all sort of torture ourselves with these thoughts,
Mhm.
and we body shame ourselves, and we put so much pressure on ourselves to look a certain way. And that is so toxic to our mental health and our overall
Mm.
well-being. Um,
Yes.
and that's why I brought in the topic of self-love, because I think that that's where this comes into the conversation. Like, if you're going to really practice self-love and you're going to start checking those thoughts that you have on a loop, you definitely have to do that when it comes to body image, and save yourself from your own toxic thoughts that
Yeah.
you've sort of been conditioned to just turn to. Like I said, it's almost like as soon as it becomes warmer weather, you're like, all of a sudden these thoughts start coming in. And you know what, Chris, you posted something. It was a reel, somebody else's reel, and it was about they were images, but it was like, look at how
Of
much we are
nature?
like nature. Yes.
Yes. I
Let me
loved that.
I loved it too, but let me be completely honest with you, that triggered me, because
Oh.
the first image was of someone's cellulite on their
Yeah.
thigh, and then it moved into, what was the image of nature that like correlated with
Moon,
it?
I think.
It was like the
Or it
moon,
was
yes.
a river, like a river, bed that was dried up or something.
Yes, so you could kind of see like craters almost, and it like
Yeah.
it looked exactly like cellulite. We have to share that. I might put it in the show notes, because I thought
Okay.
that was a really powerful reminder that, you could look at something like that, and I do. I cringe at the sight of the slightest bit of cellulite on my body. And I feel like, but then when you look at it as like, no, this is nature. This is everybody else's body is doing that too, because it's
Mhm.
actually nature.
Yes.
And that kind of just takes this, I don't know, that power away a little bit of like, it has to look different. It has to be
Mm.
not that. But why? Like, why are we so hard on ourselves for everything in our body to look perfect?
Yes. Oh my
It's
God. Well, I love that we're having this conversation because there is no perfect. And the fact that we, so did I tell you this story before when I was in my postpartum group? The teacher who I absolutely love, Christine, she talked about how when her kids were little, her little daughter had friends over. They were probably like older elementary age. And Christine's reading the paper and she sees this ad for cellulite. And it was a cellulite cream. And it said like 99% of women suffer from cellulite, like buy this cream. And so she puts the paper down in a fury. She calls her girls in. The girl had her friends over and she calls them in and she goes, look at this. 99% of people. You know what that means? It's normal. I was like, this is so important to have this conversation, to call out the like preposterous stuff that we buy into, all the lotions and the potions and the anti-aging. Like, I will get up on my soapbox here because it's like there's an industry that's making billions of dollars off of people's insecurities, not just women, mostly women, but not just women. And it's like the most radical thing we can do is enjoy ourselves the way we are and not buy into the industry,
Mm-hmm.
not buy into the marketing, not buy into the media that's telling us we're wrong for the way we look, because we're not. And it's just getting really curious for me. My journey is like getting really curious about who is telling me that I shouldn't look this way. Right? When I look in the
Yeah.
mirror and I see things that I'm not totally pleased with, it's like, why aren't you pleased? Who is telling you why you shouldn't be looking this way?
Yeah.
What if you were exactly the way you should be looking? You know? And that
Yes.
all of these different things, like for me right now, what I'm struggling with is like seeing healthy representation of aging, right? Like, and I'll be the first to admit it. Like, I love to whiten my teeth. I love like doing little hair extensions. I do, love makeup and stuff like that. I dye my hair. So it's not like I'm perfect, but like, at what level are we going to go to change ourselves so that we feel like we fit in?
Mm-hmm.
And what I want to presence here is that it's okay to improve yourself, but the intention behind the improvement or the goals or the shifts, there can be two things. One is based out of lack and one is based out of love.
Ooh,
And I think that makes all the difference.
that was really good. Can you say
Good.
that again?
Yes. So when working with people, when I work with clients, we talk about, why do you want to change? Because a lot of people will say, like, I want to lose weight. And I ask them, why? Why do you want to lose weight? Your labs look healthy. Why do you want to lose weight? They'll say, a lot of different things, but I look at the intention behind it. Is it around health? And is it in love with themselves so much that they want to better themselves? Or is it coming from a place of lack, that I won't be happy until I look this way? I
Mm.
won't be happy until I fit into those jeans in the closet that I'm saving, my skinny jeans. I won't be happy until I fit into this dress that I always keep. And I know I looked the greatest in my life then. And what I say is, get rid of those clothes. Go buy new clothes, donate them or whatever, but normalize your body's changing sizes. That's okay.
Yes.
There's nothing
Yes.
wrong with that. What's wrong is us keeping things that fit us when we were 20 and thinking we're going to get back into that. Like, sorry, it may not
Yes.
happen.
I'm so glad you're saying this because I think everybody can relate to this, especially if you're around our age-ish, which, Krista and I are in our later 30s. But
Yes,
yeah,
very wisdom years.
you have to really acknowledge and accept and be good with the fact that your body is supposed to change at this point. You are not supposed to look like you're 18 years old.
Right.
And find this new beauty. Like I did just have that happen recently where all of a sudden, like, none of my pants were fitting me. But I look at myself and I'm like, I don't feel like I look that different than I
Hmm.
did when these fit me. But it's just my body shifted, like the weight's gone to different places and literally my shape is different.
Yeah.
And I had to have this moment with myself where I was like, okay, so you just affirmed for yourself, I don't feel like I look all that different. I like the way that I look right now.
Mhm.
So it's okay that the way I look right now requires me to buy a size jeans that are like one or two sizes bigger. It's
Mhm.
because my body shifted, my shape changed. And
Mhm.
now it's my job to appreciate and love that version of myself now and let
Yeah.
go of who I was. Letting go of that does not mean that you're like just totally going to be like letting go, like
Right.
I'm just going to like not take care of myself and I'm not going to put any effort in and I don't care. Like I think that that's the mental piece that's happening here that we're like debilitating ourselves with is not allowing ourselves to let go of whatever we used to look like and embrace what we look like now and how all the ways we're going to change, as you were saying, as we age.
Mhm.
I always say that I want to, and I know it's not going to be easy. I want to embrace those aging changes. I want to
Mhm.
embrace every laugh line and every single wrinkle or crease on my
Mhm.
body and my face. And especially because if you look at women that are older who have been not able to do that, not able to accept their changing body, it's interesting to see what I'm trying to say this without being
I
judgmental.
know you are, and I agree.
But, like, that's not always a better alternative. Like,
Mm,
you can't when you really rail against what is, it becomes obvious that you
mhm,
are not accepting what
mm,
is.
mhm.
And real beauty comes from within yourself. And I don't care how cheesy that sounds. I know it sounds cheesy, but it is the truth. Your
It is the
truest, most beautiful self, just you exude beauty. You exude like this incredible aura about yourself when you accept yourself completely as you are, for every single negative that you could find about your physical body. If you were to
mhm,
just show up for that with love, it
mhm,
immediately transforms it into a different form of beauty. And
mhm.
that does actually start to show, I think, in your appearance too. When you
Yes.
really start to, and this always comes back to the wisdom work, like when you're doing the work within yourself to counteract any toxic thoughts or emotions or habits, it will start to show. Like you will start to shine and glow in different ways, because you're really releasing toxicity.
Mhm, mhm.
And
So
that's
true.
that's what we're here
So
what we're really talking about, right? Like at the
yeah,
at the heart of it, it's healing yourself.
exactly. Yeah. It's healing the relationship with yourself. It's healing the relationship with your emotions because a lot of times we will be triggered. Let's say we put on those jeans and they don't fit right. And it's like, okay, we have two ways to go. We could be very upset and go into the shame spiral, or we could be upset at the jeans and be like, okay, well, these jeans don't fit at me anymore. Now I got to go buy new ones. And like, imagine that shift like this. I mean, I have so much to say about this conversation, but the important thing I want to talk about is just pausing because we have been so saturated in the diet culture around eat this, not that. This is the way to look. This isn't. This, we want all the anti aging. We don't want to age. We will age. Our bodies will change. Like those are facts. So how can we embrace these facts as healthily and as graceful as we can and you infuse gratitude in every step of the way? Of course, I my body is different. I grew a human in my belly. Like my son lived there for 10 months. Like no wonder my body's different, right? And he nursed for 4 years. Like, no wonder my boobs look different, Like, there's so many things that I can say I have so much gratitude around. And going into, like, organs, I mean, the more I learn about health and wellness is, like, the more in awe I am of the human body and how it functions, and it's almost as if, like, how dare I want it to look different? Like, it's so petty almost. And I'm not trying to belittle people's experience of what they're going through, but what I'm saying is from my experience, it's like if I zoom out enough or zoom in enough to say, like, my heart beats every single day with no reminders. That's incredible, right? My lungs breathe for me every single day. I don't have to remind them. My food is digested every single day. My legs walk me to and from my son's school. My arms wrap around him and hug him when I see him. Like it's almost incredibly sad to me that we can't see the gratitude and the beauty and it's and it's a business. So that's what we have to remember. They're trying to make money off of us by thinking that we don't love ourselves enough and that we need other things. And it goes around the wisdom work conversation, which we've had a million times here, where it's like we are not looking for external validation. We are needing to go within to find that. First, I would say, so the hierarchy, because self-love, remember we talked about this in February, where it's a tall order, and maybe we're not there yet around our bodies. But first, what the hierarchy I would say is first self-awareness. So just be aware of your body. Look in the mirror when you're naked and just try to be aware, like what's going on right now. Okay. Then second is self-trust. So once you're aware, once you're understanding like some of the needs, like, oh, okay, I'm going for a snack, but what is actually truly there for me? I'm bored. So rather than getting a snack, why don't I go for a walk? Or why don't I, do some drawing or journaling or whatever or maybe listen to a podcast. So when you can start doing those, what's the underlying need, and then meeting the need, that develops the trust. Then you can get to like the self-liking, then you can get to the gratitude around like, okay, we're working together here. I'm understanding your needs internally. I'm giving you what you need. We're starting to like each other. It's like a courtship. So then all of a sudden, then you become loving. But we have so many messages that are deep within our psyche that I don't know if it'll be in my lifetime that we see this be healed. But what I do with specifically women is that it's a moment to moment journey. So if you can just pause, take a deep breath, and shift the narrative around, I am so grateful for my body, and say why. If you're looking at your legs and you have cellulite, what am I grateful about these legs? They look really muscular. They're very strong. They walk me around this earth. I was able to run around with my kid, or whatever it is, something for you to put into the narrative. But for me, it's like practicing that self-compassion, understanding this messaging that we are inundated with, and just getting rid of them as much as possible. So do a spring clean on your Instagram or on your Facebook. Anybody that's posting pre or post body images, get rid of them. At least I had to, because it's not helpful. It's not helpful for me to see somebody going to a very like thinner frame, because for me, it's like, well, what's the mental health? What is the emotional health around that? Even though they may look different and societal standards that we approve of, they may be at their worst emotionally, trying to stay there. And for me, like, I've stopped commenting on people's bodies. I've stopped commenting on weight. I'd ask for people to stop commenting on my weight or my body or the way I look, because it's not important, right? What you said, Chris, like the importance is the inner stuff, like you look radiant, or like, I can see that you're so happy. Like, what's going on in your life? It's great to see you. It's great to be with you. That to me is way more than like, oh, you look great. And I think for women and girls, we've grown up saying these things around looks way more than we do for little boys.
Mhm.
And not that men are absolved, because I've worked with plenty of men that have a lot of body image stuff. And I don't want to make this just a women conversation, although I do think we're affected a lot. And for little girls, for me at least, it was like, oh, you're so beautiful. You're so cute. Look at you. And for boys, it's more around their minds. Like, oh, you're so smart. Oh, you're so talented.
Or you're
So we have
strong
to,
and you're
you're
look at how athletic
strong.
you are. Look, yeah.
Exactly. So we want to be really aware and less casual with our conversation and our talk, because it can be very damaging to other people. We have no idea what people are going through. So if I compliment somebody on their weight and they're in the middle of an eating disorder, that's not helpful. That's enabling them saying like, oh, society and my friends think I look good, so I got to keep doing this. So it's really important for us to have this awareness around the way we talk about bodies. And also, we're going in a trend, we're progressing in a sense of now there's more body positivity messages. I'm not a huge fan, I have to be honest, because it's still body focused.
Mhm.
It's like, stop with the bodies. Listen to somebody's feelings. What's going on in their heart? That's more important, right? Or what are they into right now? Like, listen to what their thoughts are. Connect on a deeper level. It's too surface oriented, it's too surface focused for me. So, challenging those negative thoughts, challenging the way we were taught to compliment, and just dig deeper. You're
Yeah.
all smart people listening. It takes a little while because it's a new language we're trying to learn, and complimenting is great. But when we compliment on what we think they would like to hear, it may not be helpful. So I just want to leave that there.
I'm so glad you said that. I think that that is a really important thing for us to focus on because it doesn't get talked about a lot. But I think many of us, like, we respond, we have these like conditioned responses of, oh, or just like the remarks that you would make to somebody. If they look like they've lost weight, you immediately are like, I should compliment them on that because that's going to
Hmm.
make them feel good. And so it's innocent in the sense that you don't mean any harm to somebody, but I think it's really powerful and important what Krista pointed out here is that what if they're going through an eating disorder? What if they're so stressed from what's happening in their life that they can't keep weight on?
Hmm.
Like there's, again, like your intention is good, but if you just keep the conversation completely off their looks, then you don't have to worry about whether it's how it's landing for somebody or if it's hurting them. Um, I will say that this is something that has driven me crazy my whole life, but especially the older I get and the more that I realize you should value me less for what I look like and more for what I bring to the table as my intellect and my compassion and who I am inside here. Yeah, it really like honestly, as you were saying it, I get fired up because I think
Good.
what really bothers me is that, especially like, think of the instance of like, you're walking down the street and like, it's that age old thing of like the cat call from a construction worker or
Right.
something. I don't mean to generalize construction workers. I know you don't all like that, but um, I nothing pisses me off more than when I walk past a man or a group of men and they holler something at me and they think that that's a compliment to me. And God forbid I turn around and give them a look like, ew. They're like, "Oh, what? You're not grateful that we think you look however." Like, no, I'm not. How about you understand the fact that like that's not a compliment to me. I
Hmm.
am not like I am not indebted to you for this wonderful compliment of you think I look a certain way that's pleasing.
Hmm.
No, no, I take that as an insult actually, because you don't know me at all. And what I want is to have a conversation and to get to know people on a deeper level, not to be like hollered at from a distance.
Yeah.
So like it's infuriating to me that that is what we've grown up with. And in
Hmm.
the same way we're saying like you don't mean anything by it. I also know and fully understand that our culture has conditioned men to think that that is what a woman wants to hear. That I do
Hmm.
want you to think that I look good and I want to hear you say it. Well, not always, and like so don't make those assumptions and you don't realize like how I'm going to take that and that I'm actually going to take it as a negative thing.
Hmm.
Um but again, to your point, let's just stop talking about what people look like.
Right.
Like, why is that? It's actually kind of like wild and odd when you look at it from this like zoomed out perspective of why do we obsess over what we or anybody else looks like? Like, why does that
Yeah.
even matter to us?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I do understand the level of like attractions and things like that we're attracted to people in a physical way or whatever. But I don't know, it's obsessive and
Hmm.
but also to your other point that it's driven by the messaging and the marketing. I'm trying to think of what it was that I was listening to. I want to say it was like a Glennon conversation where she was saying something like, you know, you basically, like, the marketing perspective will sometimes have you feel like, I am not worthy or whole unless I have those sexy countertops.
Yes.
You know, like,
Yes.
if I don't have those sexy countertops that I see everybody has on Pinterest, then I am not sexy.
Mhm.
You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like, it's so crazy that that's how this, like, infiltrates into our minds. We
Yeah.
really are like, "I'm not
Const
worthy, I'm not good enough, nothing about my appearance is good enough if I don't also have all these things that
Mhm.
appear nice and fancy." You know, and again, it's not wrong to desire those things or to have those things, but it's how are we mentally and emotionally processing it all? And why are we desiring these things? Are you desiring it from a healthy perspective? Or are you desiring it because of what it will look like from the outside and the approval it will get you or the praise it will get you?
Mhm. Yeah, the love or lack. Like, be
Yes.
aware of intention behind things. Because I worked with a woman before, and we were talking, she really wanted to lose weight, and I was talking about all of this, and I said, um, you know, what she she was, like, laughing because she goes, "Christa, this is, like, amazing. I've never heard this information before." And she's like, really grateful because it feel like, and every time I do the intuitive eating workshop at at the retreat, it's like I always offer the trigger warning, but people are like relieved. Their shoulders relaxed. They're like, I have never, like, it's just so not what they're hearing constantly. And so this woman, she was like, "Well, I get all the things that you're saying, and I love all of these things, but like, I still really want to lose weight." And I was like, "I get it. I get it." I was like, "You can love yourself and still have goals."
Yes.
And this is
Yes.
what I want to make sure everybody's hearing this today, where when we're talking about body image, we want you to love your body, and we want you to love your body, not because this is the picture of what your body should look like when you love it, but because you just love it,
Mm.
right? It's
That's
not
really
about,
important. That's
it's
really
really
important.
important. It's really important. It's not when you're at a certain age, like 18 to 25, or, a certain weight or a certain size. It's like you can love your body every step of the journey. And it's not only encouraged, but it's really healthy and important for your own mental, physical, spiritual, and all of the health, all the healthy avenues. Like, it's so, so valuable.
It is, and I was gonna say that I'm glad we're also highlighting the point that this is not us saying you can't have goals and you can't want to look or feel a certain way, but it's about having the healthy perspective. Like, when I think about what has shifted for me in terms of working out and how I eat, it went less from I'm trying to do X, Y, and Z so that I look a certain way to I'm trying to do X, Y, and Z so that I feel a certain way.
Yes.
Now I choose workouts because of how they make me feel and the energy that they give me, or they make me feel stronger, or they make me feel, um, just healthier. And I'm
Hmm.
choosing foods because this is what gives me more energy. When you start to look at, like, how do you feel after you eat a cheesesteak versus how do you feel after you eat, something full of greens and nutrients? It does not mean I never have a cheesesteak. I love cheesesteaks.
Right.
But I know that I can't eat that kind of food regularly, or
Mhm.
it makes me feel like crap, and I don't like to feel that way.
Yes.
And I choose the healthier foods because that keeps me clear-minded, gives me a lot of energy, helps me get through my days and be more productive.
Hmm.
But then on a Saturday night and I'm watching a basketball game and I wanna have a cheesesteak and a beer, I'm gonna do that because 'cause I'm
Yeah.
like, "Okay, I'm gonna probably go to bed after this," I think we've
Yes.
we've had this kind of conversation before. Because
Uh,
now that I'm saying that, I feel like I've said that exact same thing before, and everybody probably thinks on the weekends, I just eat cheese sticks and drink beer. It's kinda true. Um, but it's like that healthy
and
balance.
fine. Yes.
having balance, like that is so crucial to our overall body image as well, is
Mhm.
seeing yourself in a balanced way, giving yourself the grace to not be rigid in any way.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to be crazy into your workout or crazy into what you eat, or on the other end, like completely not care about what you're putting into your
Right.
body, not think about how it's impacting your health. It's meeting in the middle of that,
Yes. Yes.
finding what is balanced for you so that you
Mhm.
can live your healthiest life and be well. And I mean, this is the point where I think I want you to tell us, can you give us the tips? What are the ways that we can, really start to focus on a more balanced perspective of
Mhm.
of our body image? Like what are
Yeah.
these gems you can leave us with, Chris?
Yes. Oh, thank you for asking. So there's so much. And if you are interested in this, please reach out to me. I would love to offer you support. Um, and there's a lot coming in my business that I'm going to be doing, which is I'm developing a 6-week course called Nourish to Flourish, which will be amazing for people to gather and learn. There's going to be 6 content static videos and 6 live calls to digest with me. And then I'm also leading a lot of self-care circles coming up around just kind of talking about our goals, our intentions, learning from everybody. So what I've found is that one-on-one coaching has been great, and I've done a lot of them, like over 5,000 people I've worked with in the last 15 plus years. And it's great, and I loved it. However, my personal and professional journey, I have learned that the true transformation and the true healing happens in groups. It happens together because what my story is touches somebody else's story, and what their story is touches Christy, and what Christy's story touches somebody else, and it's medicine. So we feel the connection, we feel the belonging, we know that we're not alone in this journey, and you're not. Just like we talk about here on the wisdom work. So, around body image, my 3 takeaways would be when you're in a body dysmorphia, or if you're in a way that you're looking at your body that's not ideal or not healthy, pause. Number 1 is just pause. Slow down. Most of the time, we're going with our minds and we're thinking about what we should be looking like or how these clothes should be fitting. So just pause. You don't need to do anything. Just pause and be aware. Then take a deep breath. So, taking a deep breath can slow us down, it connects us back into our body. And the third thing is find gratitude. So, with whatever you're dealing with, whether it's the arms or the wrinkles or the cellulite or the belly or whatever, or the boobs, it's like just be grateful for what they offer you and think about it and counter that negative self talk with something that you're grateful for about that. So,
I
that's what I,
love all of those tips. And I would like to say to this entire community, I'd just like to point out that we are really lucky that Christa is able to give us this specific type of wisdom because has been working in this field for 20 years. I mean, when you say that you've worked personally with 5,000 people, that's wild.
it's
But
wild.
the
Yeah.
it really just highlights the fact that you have such a depth of knowledge and expertise in this space, and now it's really coupled with your desire to help people and women specifically to feel whole and to feel good about themselves emotionally, mentally, physically in a whole way. I
Yes.
really just I'm so grateful that we have you and that expertise because you bring that to this conversation all the time. You're able to give us always like a scientific background, and I'm always like, "Wow, how'd she know all that?" Um, but it's because you've put so much work into this. So I definitely would say if anybody is listening to this conversation and you're like, "You know what? I need more support in that area." Pay attention to what Krista's offering because especially as she said with the group coaching, I mean, that's just such a wonderful opportunity to feel supported, to not feel so alone. Everything that we feel about our bodies, or our physical health can feel so like alone. You can feel so alone in that experience. And I to Krista's point, I think it's really powerful to join a group and to have somebody with Krista's level of expertise lead the way. So
You so much.
we will be sure to keep everyone up to speed on what you're offering. And I can't thank you enough for sharing all that because, like I said, I think we're just lucky to have these tips and this wisdom specific from you. So thank you for
Thank you.
that.
Oh,
And
thank you. It's a pleasure. And what I'll say is that I want to facilitate a deep remembering because I think we all know this. And it's a time and a space for me to facilitate quieting down and leading you back home, leading you back to your house and leading you back to your body and transforming the relationship from the inside out. So that is it's yeah, I think of it as a remembering.
that's powerful stuff. And that's, it's really beautiful to have somebody package it that way for you, as in, I'm bringing you back to yourself
Yeah.
and, bringing you back to your healthiest space before
Mhm.
all this other stuff got piled on,
Yes.
all these,
Yes.
these different toxic ways of viewing yourself got brought onto you. How about we peel back the layers, as we
Mhm.
always talk about with wisdom work? This is the process, peeling back the layers so you can get back to that a space within yourself that already exists.
Right.
That's the most beautiful thing about all of this is that you're not trying to get something outside of yourself. You're trying to come back home to yourself.
Mhm. Mhm.
So this was just another, I think, great conversation around something that all of us deal with on a daily basis. We are all
Mhm.
facing body image struggles. And so
Yes.
I hope that this conversation really helped everybody, just to have an honest conversation about it. And as always, please reach out to us if you have more questions about this or you kind of just want to talk through whatever this stirred up in you. Please reach out.
Mhm.
We are always here to listen, but I don't want to speak for you, Chris, but I'm sure Krista would be happy to talk to you, just around whatever came up for you in this conversation. And
Always.
yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. We'll help to quote digest it.
Yes. And keep your eyes out for Nourish to Flourish, which will be coming
Yes.
soon. So,
Thank
anyway, thank you everybody for listening. And we will see you next time here on the Wisdom Work with Krista and Christy.